Episode 9 of the Orville New Horizons. Our review next. Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd, and another very good episode of the Orville this week. This time you can tell where their special effects budget went. There were many ships of various sorts, that being Krill or Kalon or Union ships. There were star battles. They were able to finally use this fighter shuttle that they introduced in the first episode of this season. And we also have some intrigue going on. They start with a device that they've been working on in order to defeat the Kalon, and this is essentially a neutron bomb. It destroys Kalons without virtually messing with anything else. And this has become a big negotiating point now in trying to sue for peace to the Kalons. Meantime, the Mocklans are forming an alliance with the Krill, and despite some shaky starts on that, this creates a whole new paradigm for what the Union has to face now. We've established by now that Charlie and Isaac have a good working relationship, even if she doesn't quite forgive his race for obliterating so many of their people, including her best friend. We show that the Union is not quite all that it sets itself up to be. It tries to be a more self-actualized type of organization, but like anything that has people in them, there are dissenters and there are people who might try to undermine some move for the better. So that is what this episode entails. It's another long one. It's almost an hour and 20 minutes long. I think 1:18 and some seconds. And it is filled with, I would say there's probably one scene in it that probably wasn't necessary. They have Charlie and Gordon singing a song, and it fit what went on, I suppose, but probably did not absolutely need to be in there. But it does show a nice scenic cabin that apparently belonged to the captain, that was a vacation cottage of some sort. There are twists and turns in this episode that keep it interesting, that kind of keep you on the edge of your seat. You know that the Orville is going to be all right. You know that they're in a battle scene. We're not going to have any kind of major thing that will keep the series from going on. But at the same time, there's enough suspense in there to know how it's going to be done and what would happen to other characters that we may or may not care about. So this is some fantastic special effects that were used in this. Like I said, you can see where the money was spent. They did have a couple of things that bothered me a little bit. They're using their fighters for an attack run on an antenna array. And they're in a trench, and it looks pretty much like the setup for the battle at the Death Star in Star Wars. It's running through a trench and trying to make that perfect shot, and then having people behind you shooting at you, and then you have somebody covering for you, and it was blocked almost the same way as Star Wars there. I was tempted to say Gordon used the Force. Nobody said that, thankfully. However, there were some interesting jokes in a encounter between Kelly and the Chancellor of Krill. The Chancellor says, "You need emotional balance." Kelly says, "And you need a dermatologist." I thought that was just kind of a funny line during a fight scene there. In the negotiations between the Mocklans and the Krill, the Mocklans show their disdain for women, and the woman Chancellor of Krill says, "How surprising that the Union revoked your membership." I thought that was a good line. I like the fact that the humor in this episode is, and generally in this season, has been more situational rather than just making pop culture references that only apply to the 21st century, but rather that are generic enough that they would fit in the 25th century timeline that they're in. So I think this was well done. I think that there was a very satisfying ending to this, and a very credible one as well, in which how are you going to attain a peaceful coexistence with anybody if there is an imbalance of power? And how do you balance that? And I think they figured out how to do that, and it was done very well here. So I recommend this episode. It is called Domino, and it's clever how they use the title of the episode in two different references. And I think that that gives a very uplifting tone by the end of this episode. I would like you to subscribe, if you will, please, if you have not done that already. Also ring the bell so you know when the next video is coming your way. And of course, we have comments below if you would like to say something about this review or about the show itself. I'd love to have a conversation with you. So why not do that? And until next time, don't go far.